Cool. All right. So to start, let me share my screen, and I'll start in our handbook because we have added. Yeah, this is the tab I need. So I created a Google Tag Manager system and added the details of this to the digital marketing programs page for now. And so have a naming convention for the tags themselves in Google Tag Manager, starting with the service first and then information about what the tag contains after that. And then trigger, I have named the triggers semantically based on what they're related to. So click on a call to action button or a link or a custom event. And then variable naming follows something similar to, tag naming, which is, start with the tool that it uses it, what it's related to, and then information that contextualizes what's going on with it.
Makes sense.
And the reason why I did this is, as you can imagine, any tool that has, 4 or 5 people in it over a period of a couple of years without a system, it became a very kind of overwhelming mass of tags and triggers and variables. And so I streamlined all of that back in December so that we have now a clean container that follows all of these rules. And we use data layer for some blog posts specifically right now to differentiate between blog posts by type. I need to update this because we've also added an option, and I'm getting a message that my connection is unstable. So if I break up, let me know.
Okay.
We also do data layer. We pull tags from posts into the data layer so that we can then in Google Analytics be able to see that as a secondary dimension. So it's a custom dimension. I think we have 20 of those. Right now we have 3 or 4.
Okay.
And then so all of our goals and overarching kind of things that we want to track, actions that we want to track on the website are tracked with events. And so I fire all those events from Google Tag Manager, and they use this system for categories, actions, and labels. Categories, there are a few more categories now I need to update. We added demo, I think, is a category. I know webcast is a category. Anyway, the idea behind categories, though, is that it captures the type of content the user is interacting with. And then actions tell us, what they did with that content. They clicked on a CTA, they submitted, they watched, they downloaded. And then event label, that's where we pull in some of the information that Google Tag Manager can surface for us, like page URL, refer the page they are on before they took that action, click text, click class, all that stuff is in there. I also use, there's a tool from Simo Ahava. He has a GitLab Tag Manager inventory tool. So it's an add-on for Google Sheets. And so you connect it to Google Sheets and Google Tag Manager, and it will actually pull all your tags, triggers, and variables into Sheets. So you can see them all in one place, and then you can actually make notes and then push those notes to Google Tag Manager. So it keeps it in sync. It's very, it's a much easier way to have a bigger understanding of what's firing where, what's being fired by what, like all that stuff is surfaced there. I can show you that too today if you'd like to see more about that.
Yeah, that would have made previous lives much easier. I was manually exporting and creating my own sheet of such information.
Yeah, so it's I discovered all that because to get a clean container, because what I did was I started a new container for the transition that I made. And then I had to clean out the old container, and I realized, the only way to do that is start with an empty JSON container. And then anyway, so it took some time to figure that out, but we're here now. And that's a high level overview of what's going on with Google Tag Manager right now.
All right.
Next, I'll just go straight to Google Tag Manager, and we have workspace. I'm going to remove I was testing something. I'm going to remove the test workspace for now. But tags are listed here. The main ones are really events. So we spent a lot of time fighting with Marketo forms because they don't trigger the GTM submit like traditional forms for some reason. And so what we're doing to fire form events now is we've added custom data layer events that relate to specific terms That way we can target, say, a forum for resources versus a forum for webcast, and keep all those events separated and categorized in all the ways we want them.
Okay.
And that's actually documented. I want to say it's either in Marketing Program Manager or on Marketing Ops in the handbook on what we're adding there. I can show you that as well. It's just right before the return, we're adding a data layer push with the name of the event. So, for example, in this instance, the event name is trial. So when it sees the I'm going in circles here. When it sees that trial come through on the data layer, it fires the custom event, which then fires the Google Analytics event and Facebook as well. So, so that was the trickiest part, was getting Marketo synced up and firing. Now we do. I've got nav and footer events now that fire. Navigation category click, and then so we can see what people are clicking in the navigation.
Okay.
And use that to help us determine, like, when we make a change in the navigation, does that have an impact?
Yep.
So that's really high level. I mean, is there anything specific you want to know about Google Tag Manager at this point?
No. I love how the cleanup that you've done here. It's really well thought out and organized.
It's been great because, I mean, I went from having to like figure out what broke, a couple times a month, to now, like, I very rarely come in here and do much. And if I do, it's all like adding a new tool, making sure everything's working, and it's not the headache it was when I started. So the change has been very beneficial. So let's go to, let's just go to events here, so you can see, what we're capturing. So for navigation, let's start there. Oh, and so what I did was I broke out, when you go to product in the breakdown, you have use cases. And so I broke those out into a separate category so we could, view them quicker without having to run any kind of filters or anything like that. But let's just go with click for now.
And does click capture the click use case, or is it not a roll up? So what we're looking at now, would that include any use case clicks?
No, it would not.
Okay, so they are isolated. It's not a subcategory.
Yep, that's right. And so you can see the main click here, sign in. Like, people are coming to the homepage, want to get to sign in. Right. And then let's go back. I can show you use case 2. No, wrong click. And then, one of the things that we discovered, over the last, I guess, month at some point, is that anytime we do filters now in Google Analytics, it automatically samples that data, and it doesn't display that to you anymore. It used to say, oh, this report's based on this percentage of visitors. It doesn't do that now. So you will get sample data. So if we went to, say, add a secondary dimension, or actually, let's do this. Let's do CI/CD. What we noticed is that we were having lots of reports, say, with like 25 results that were returning 13 total events. Well, and there wasn't any with 1. It was just all the bottom was 13. So we're like, well, that's obviously sampled. There's something happening there that's making this one event look like it happened 13 times, when in reality it happened some number below that, but we don't know because of the sampling rate.
Got it.
So this is a use case. You can see where people are clicking. This is just for the last week right now. So you have the page that they clicked from, the click text, the CSS class, and then the page they clicked to.
Okay.
And then if we go back to categories again. We can look at resources. and when we look at resources, so because we can't track what people do with the PDF, and since it's not a page view,
Right.
I've added an event for when somebody clicks download on the page and clicks through to the PDF, that fires as an event to tell us like, oh, hey, they clicked through, they filled out the form and they clicked through immediately rather than going to their inbox or some other method of getting the content they were asking for. So we go to submit, and then we can see demos in here, scaling enterprise DevOps. Just tells us what resources people are clicking on and where they're coming from when they're submitting that information.
Okay.
And then, I've been trying to make sure we document, things with annotations as much as possible. I will show you one of the something that happened starting in February that was an error that I introduced. So let's see. Let's go back here. And this is fixed now, but for a few months, we were seeing some landing pages being returned as not set. And so in research, when we discovered that and then started researching, what we realized was that when I added the changes to Google Analytics and to the website to push the blog post tags to the data layer, we weren't capturing those with the page view. So to counter that, what I did was like, oh, well, let's just do window loaded. Well, so what happened with that was, so the analytics page view is waiting to fire for someone to click, or I'm sorry, was waiting to fire until the window completely loaded. So if they were on a page where an image or a library of some kind wasn't letting the page finish the load and they clicked on sign in, that landing page didn't get set.
Got it.
And so as best we can tell from the data, like, the vast majority of the landing page not sets we see, when we go look at like the navigation events related to that, they're on the home page and they click on sign in. So it was just something related to people coming to the home page, clicking on sign in, they know where they're going, the page didn't fully load, and that caused that error. So to fix that, I switched from window loaded to DOM ready, so we can continue capturing data layer.
Right.
Reading up on it, that's what I should have done in the first place, is read up on it, and that's the the recommended method of capturing that. So
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so a little error, like didn't have a big impact on what we were tracking with events, since any trial submissions, resource submissions, all those are fired by events, not page views, and so we still captured all those. Yep. It was just more of like a little wrinkle in the data there.
Well, it's good that it was easy enough to fix and easy enough to capture.
Yeah, it took a little bit of time just to verify kind of what I was seeing and making sure I was right. On what was the impact, because like I don't want to underestimate the impact, but turns out it was
correct fix.
Yeah, absolutely. And then one thing I do want to point out too is with conversions, we are using our goals to that's why we're using our goals to fire conversions in Google Ads. So they're fired by events and coordinated with with Matt and with our agency to make sure that we're capturing the goals that matter for our ads. And so right now we focus primarily on webcast registrations, newsletter subscriptions, free trials, and then on-demand demo and resource. Those are the big ones that we're looking at with AdWords. We do have a couple others in here just to make sure that we're seeing how many requests we're getting for professional services, those kind of things showing up here. And then like just like any tool that relies on cookies and anything related to advertising, we know that there's probably anywhere between 15 to 25% of our visitors are using ad blockers.
Right.
and we're going to be missing their information in this data, but it at least gives us a picture of what we can know and make decisions based on that.
Right. It's just like with our ping usage data, we have to take it with a grain of salt that not everyone has enabled it.
Yep. Yep. So I'm going to stop sharing now. Is there anything else you want to know about, Google Tag Manager, Google Analytics, anything related to that stack?
Not right now. I mean, that's a really good overview, and I've got to say this is the best instance that I've ever walked into.
Great.
I tried to get my previous instance to look like that, but for a number of reasons, just never got to it.
Yeah.
And it is really exciting to see. It'll make working with the data much easier.
Cool. Well, that is extremely exciting for me to hear as well. Like I said, it put some time and thought into that. So hearing that it's a good situation for you to walk in makes me very happy.
Yep. And then, so my plan is definitely probably not even in the next quarter to be working with the web analytics reporting, just because right now I'm still, bringing myself on with SQL for Periscope implementation and moving a lot of reports into there. Mm-hmm. But I know that from conversation with Todd, long-term goal is for me to be kind of overseeing all of that reporting stuff. So as we get close to that, I'll certainly be working with you to see what you've been doing reporting wise and what thoughts you have from being in it for, how long have you been managing the web reporting and analytics?
It'll be, I've basically been doing it since I started. So about a year.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm sure you have some ideas of still things you want to do that just don't fit in any sort of sprint scale right now.
Yeah, for sure. And, one of the things that is active right now, I'm not sure where it stands, but I did talk to the data team about getting a Google Analytics user and then using that user to pull with the API, pull data into Periscope. So hopefully that'll be something that you can use as well.
That would be fantastic. That makes everything that much easier.
Yeah, for sure. And then, I am part of the Pendo proof of concept right now. And so looking at, if we can use that to also help stitch together, because right now everything stops when somebody gets to GitLab.com
right.
Because we don't have any tracking on that. So I'm hoping that, this can help create a complete picture from, initial visit to conversion event to actual, paying customer, seeing that whole path and then be able to optimize those paths from there. That'd be really exciting.
Absolutely. I mean, and valuable on all number of levels.
Yep. Cool. I'm going to stop recording.